So what if everything that you've ever been told about money was actually wrong? This would be like someone giving you the wrong instructions to the game that you're playing. But here's the thing, this isn't just some game of checkers, and instead it's the game of life. And the game of life will show you absolutely no mercy if you do not know how to play it. But on the flip side, if you do know how to play it, the game of life can be and will be the most enjoyable game that you will ever play. And real life is way cooler than any video game out there. So here's the problem. As you get older and you start to learn more about money, you quickly find out that there are no classes that teach you how to really make it. So if there are no classes to teach you, then who do you learn from? Most likely you will learn from your parents or your friends or even your friends' parents. And here's where the odds start to stack against you. Now this might sound kind of blunt, but poor people tend to breed more poor people and rich people tend to breed more rich people. Pretty much all of the money-making skills and even the beliefs that we hold are inherited from our parents. So if your parents are super poor, then there's a good chance that you will be super poor yourself. And if your parents are super rich, then there's a good chance that you will also be super rich. And not just because they have money to give you, but through the process of osmosis, you will absorb their beliefs about money and thus be more likely to be able to make and keep it. Now, current estimates reveal that nearly 60% of all Americans are either living in poverty or living very near it, which means that they are all basically poor in terms of how much cash they have in the bank and their total assets. So nearly 2 out of every 3 Americans are basically guaranteed poor according to the latest estimates. But think about this. Real wealth, or truly being rich, is when you have so much money in the bank that you don't have to worry about anything, and you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, for the rest of your life. That's what real wealth is in terms of money. And most Americans have nowhere near that amount of money. So this estimate of 2/3 of Americans being poor could actually be much higher. So here's the problem. Growing up, most of us are handed this mental piece of paper containing the instructions for how to make money in life. And on this little piece of paper, it says basically the same thing, but in different versions for different people. So on one person's paper, it says work a standard job your whole life and stay with the same company. And after like 40 years of grueling, back-breaking work, you might have a few $100,000s in a savings account that you can live very frugally on for the remainder of your life. But guess what? Say you work like 25, 30, 40 years, and then you don't even live until you're old enough to access that account. All of that work, and then your $400,000 gets inherited by a distant relative who spends it all on Pokemon cards. But what if you do make it to 65, which is like the traditional retirement age? Now you're just an old bag of bones with a few $100,000 in the bank that you can't even spend because you are forced to live off of the investment income and the interest from it. This is the standard blueprint that most people live by. And even after like 40 years of grueling hard work, taking orders from some boss that you hate, and never having any flexibility or anything even remotely like that, come to find out that you actually never even got rich. All that you did was make enough money so that you could kind of survive that last stretch of your life. Now, I don't know about you, but that would leave an awfully bad taste in my mouth. Now let's get back to the little piece of paper with the instructions on it that we were talking about earlier. If you just took a moment to look hard enough at the bottom of the paper, you would see the fine print, which basically says play it safe. What you're doing is simply playing it safe, and where there is no risk, there is no reward. So the reason why you clicked on this video is because you want to know how to get rich while you're still young, because that's what everyone wants, right? That's like the holy grail of life in superficial terms, getting rich while you're still young enough to enjoy it. Now, I'm not going to be the guy who sits here and tells you that there's some super secret strategy like dropshipping wolf mugs from a Chinese retailer website that is going to make you $1 million while you sleep. A lot of other guys will try to sell you a secret strategy that they supposedly use to get rich, like how to flip real estate or something like that. But here's the thing, inside your head right now, you actually have more riches than you could ever imagine. There is literally enough money in your head right now to pay for every dream, every want, every need, everything that you and your family, or just you, could ever want. And the thing that I would rather do, rather than simply give you some secret strategy that I have, is to help you unlock the wealth that is already inside of your head. All of the most valuable companies in the world were started with nothing more than an idea, which means some person somewhere in the world had an idea, executed on that idea, and then companies like Amazon and Google were born. You see, everything starts from a simple idea. So to get rich while you're young, you have to throw away that piece of paper that you got from your parents or your friends' parents, because it's no good. Those instructions were passed down from generations of poor people to create more poor people. I mean, it's not like your parents were like, hey, let's have a baby and make sure that he's super poor his entire life. It's just that humans tend to learn through osmosis, meaning we absorb or learn from those who we are closest to. So if our parents are poor, and our friends are poor, and most of our teachers and role models in our life are poor, then we're going to probably end up poor as well, unless something changes. And all that it takes to end this cycle is simply one trusted person, maybe some guy from a YouTube video, to say, hey buddy, there's a better way. You don't actually have to spend your entire life making nacho fries at Taco Bell. Instead, you could be making money while sipping an ice cold drink in Barbados. And as you might already know about me, I, like many of you, grew up with a single mother and was never really given a chance to know my father, who actually passed away while I was really young. So like many of you, I was handed a set of instructions that doesn't work anymore. They might have worked 50 years ago, before the internet and all the technology that we have today. But in today's world, following those instructions, you will most likely never get rich while you're still young. So first, you have to throw out this outdated way of thinking. And next, you have to actually believe that it's possible. Now that might not sound very groundbreaking to you, but before you can ever achieve anything, you have to first believe that it's possible. Right now, it's hard for me to imagine making millions of dollars in 1 year, but I know without a doubt that it is possible, and you have to as well. If you ask most wealthy people how they got rich, but more importantly, how they stayed rich, you'll find out that they simply believed that it was possible long before they actually achieved it. And they also had a particular mindset about money that allowed them to keep all of the riches that they accumulated. So if you're currently taking orders for burritos at Taco Bell right now, it's probably hard to imagine that you could be making 10, 20, or even 50 times as much money, working only a fraction of the time that you spend there. But the truth is that anything is possible, and people all over the world are actually doing this right now. So to get rich while you're young, you have to ditch the old instructions that were handed down to you and realize that there are far better ways to make ridiculous amounts of money while you're still young and while you can actually still enjoy that money. And with that said, this is Business Secrets, and until next time, thanks for watching.